Live. Going live. Are we live? There we go. Finally, it is live, but it is an honor to have a special guest. But before we announce him, you're listening to the unfiltered, unscripted, 100% authentic, the Air Raid Attack podcast. I'm your host, Michael, and hey, we're going to even break some more records, if you want to call it that. There's no records in Air Raid Attack, but we're going to call it that anyway. Never got to interview. I don't like using the words politician, but this aspect, we are going to interview a politician. So tonight's going to be its first. Of course, all your live streams. I hope you have your listening ears ready. Any questions, feel free to send them this way throughout the next, 45 minutes to an hour. But without further ado, it is my true honor to represent Robby Wells, who is a 2024 presidential candidate. And not only that, he has recently been named ambassador and spokesperson for the International Human Rights Peace Commission. And he's a former educator and a collegiate football coach. Without further ado, Mr. Robby Wells, welcome to the podcast. I look forward to having you, looking forward to talking to you and hearing about not only you as a person, but your campaign as we enter in the 24 race.
Well, thank you so much, Michael. It truly is a pleasure to be here and to be able to speak to your listening audience this evening. And we definitely have some major business to talk about tonight, don't we?
Yes, sir. And it's there's a lot going on in this country, regardless if you're, left or right. Somebody like me, Mr. Wells, is a military family background. My grandfather served 22 years. My uncle served. I mean, we go back literally, I look back, it's Revolutionary Wars. So, I mean, literally, we've had a trace going all the way back. So the country is definitely, means a lot to me in this country. Unfortunately, I'm not going to, bash other administrations, but we haven't seen much success here the last few years. But Mr. Wells, first things first, a little about yourself and what in the world you went from, literally what I would call a blue collar life, educator, football coach. What drove you? What clicked in your mind? Like, you know what? Enough is enough. I got to get my name out here and get, try to save this country. And not only that, but what's the right word? Just try to get your name out there to a race to where become our next president.
Well, Michael, I appreciate the question, and it's been a very long time coming. I've known since I was a child that I was going to run. You see, it was my father, who was a minister, that actually worked with one of our former presidents, and that was Jimmy Carter, and actually helped get him elected when I was just an 8-year-old child. And a few days before the election, we were actually in his home. And President Carter came walking in. He should have been on the road campaigning, and now that I look back on it, but he was home. And I remember as a little 8-year-old kid looking up at him and saying, "You're going to be the president of the United States."
Wow.
And he looked down at me. He looked down at me and said, "One day you will be too." And
holy cow!
It just it kind of put a stamp of inspiration on my heart that, you know what, my family friend became president. One day that, I can do the same thing. So here I am many years later. I knew from looking at him, he was not really a career politician. He was a farmer in Southwest Georgia. And he was, of course, governor for one term. And then when he held his first press conference saying he was going to run for president, not one reporter showed up because they thought it was a joke.
Right.
But he ended up winning the White House. And that really just kind of stuck with me, that one day I was going to run for and become president. Now, over the years, what I've chosen to do is I've been a news junkie since I was a little kid, trying to stay up to date with what's going on. And as I started getting older, started formulating my ideas on what we can do to actually make this world a better place. Not only the United States, but the entire world. So I truly believe that my plan does just that. We've got a lot of major problems in the world right now that need to be addressed. The main problem right now, in my humble opinion, is this war between Russia and Ukraine. This has got to
Yep.
stop. And I've been calling for peace. Now, I'm also a foreign correspondent with RT and NTV Russia, okay, which is two Russian news networks, kind of like CNN, MSNBC here, and
Right.
and they bring me on to talk about several things. Number one, presidential politics here in the United States, world leader views on things that are happening around the world, and mainly the past year and a half has been my thoughts on the war with Russia and the Ukraine. And each time I'm calling for peace, and I just think that we've got to have better leadership in the United States
Hmm.
and move in a different direction instead of saying that you're not going to give foreign aid, which is what was said by our current administration about a year and a half ago, because it could cause World War III, and they were exactly right. But doing a complete 180, and now our current administration has given over $80 billion
Yep.
in foreign military aid to the Ukraine.
Yep.
You're not promoting peace by doing that, number one. And number two, we are on the verge of World War III.
No, you're absolutely right. When we're just a ticking time bomb away from entering World War III, and it's kind of leading to the next question is, what's the? I mean, obviously, what is the answer to avoid heading into World War III? I mean, obviously, Ukraine and Russia, that's a war that probably should have never took place, but it's definitely got to stop. Coming, and somebody coming over, that was in the Middle East, almost going on now 2 months ago. I guess now 2 months now, but in Israel, it's interesting how, it's even dealt with actually got it dealt with a missile from Gaza. That was interesting, but
Right.
definitely didn't imagine that. But what is the key to peace in the Middle East, and not just within the Middle East, but within the world? Because I mean, we got China wants to invade Taiwan. We got Israel's always being attacked, regardless if it's by Palestinians or or Iranian or Iraqians, whatever. But you got Ukraine and Russia. What's the answer, Mr. Wells, to get this world peace finalized and have it to where we can at least agree to one another now instead of wanting to fight?
I think it's fairly simple. You got to have tough love from the leadership in the United States, because we are considered the greatest power in the world. So
Yeah.
when you have strong leadership in the White House that's going to take a stand against some of the things that are going on right now, then a lot of the things that are going on right now wouldn't be going on. Um, I just truly believe that our current administration right now, Vladimir Putin, really just doesn't respect that they're going to do much of anything to
Right.
stop him. So he went ahead and he did what he thought he could do and get away with, and he has, which was invade the Ukraine. Same thing's going on with China. And if we're not careful, it's going to happen in other parts of the world as well. What you need is someone that's very strong, a leader that's going to draw a line in the sand and say, no, you're not going to cross it. That's the kind of leadership you're going to get from me. A tough love. Yes, I love everyone. I love all people. But make no mistake, we're going to make sure that the people of the United States are protected and that they can go to bed at night knowing that they're going to wake up the next morning safe.
No, I like that. And excuse me. And one thing that I feel like I know we had for the Trump term, I think we kind of saw it, but at the end of the tunnel, didn't see the full picture. We need somebody that's liable to put their foot down and, hey, here's enough's enough. We're not going to have everything made in China. We're not going to have, we're not going to cater billions upon billions to Ukraine. And I'm not saying that they're not worthy of getting it, but at the same time, you still got to protect your people. But be a ran over, somebody that's
But let me
not
say
going to get
this.
ran
Let
over.
me, and I appreciate that. But let me say this about Mr. Trump. Mr. Trump always talked bad about China,
Yep.
but yet it's Mr. Trump with his line of clothing that is actually made in
Exactly.
China for a cheap
Yep.
price, and he
Yep.
sells it here and sells out the American people. Now, I'm from the deep South,
Very
and
nice.
where I come from, we call that talking out of both sides of your mouth.
That's how my grandma would always say it. Yes, sir.
Right.
Yep. No, I mean I think somebody mentioned that, and and you can go through. And I'm not here, obviously, we're not here to talk Trump, but you can definitely go through, you know, the merchandise, so to speak. And if you look, research it, it's obviously, that's correct that it was made in China. And I guess the next question, the question that really noticed, scrolling through, it was interesting, really caught my eye. And the first thing first is a creative society.
Right.
Doing some research still here and there, but I'll be honest with you, with life and everything else, I haven't really got a chance to sit down and just look it over type of thing. So, question number one: what exactly is a creative society? And the number two is the process of building a creative society. What is there a first stage? If there is a first stage, then how do we get to second or third, so to speak? No pun intended to baseball fans out there, but what's the process? And well, first, what's the creative society, and then what is the process to build that into in this aspect, the United States of America?
Well, the Creative Society is made up of millions of people worldwide and in over 180 different nations.
Wow.
There is a lot in the United States. There are people all over Europe. There's people all over Asia, literally on every continent that are a part of the Creative Society. And basically, what millions of people that are a part of this group have said is there is a better way of doing things. And we are going to do just that. Instead of having perpetual wars, let's move to a new type of agenda where we promote and actually achieve peace. Let's move to a society where we're not so much governed by greed and wealth of a very few people at the expense of billions of people, but where everybody gets a fair shot at what I consider the American dream. Because we talk about the American dream, but really that American dream has been replaced with an economic nightmare, especially during my adult life. So we've got to do some things that are a little bit different. I'm the only candidate out here right now that is talking about a $10,000 a month universal basic income. Now, people are saying, well, how is that going to work? How can you even afford that? That's over $3 trillion a year if you give that to every American. Yes, you're exactly right. But that's moving to a completely new system, a completely new way of doing things. And of course, yes, I understand that will take time to get through Congress so that we can actually do it. But if we ever move to that, which we are slowly moving that way anyway, to a fully digital currency.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We're already we're 90% there now in the United States. Think about it. Everybody uses a debit card. Everybody uses their credit cards. When's the last time you really paid for anything in cash since the coronavirus?
Exactly. No, it's been a while.
Yeah.
Yep.
Your paycheck comes in the form of a direct deposit. It goes into your bank. You pay bills online. That's all digital. And it's going to become completely 100% that way. Now, when it does go that, I am proposing that since we're on a fiat money system, okay, we just go to a fiat money system that's on steroids. Instead of giving people just enough where they can survive, which is the system we are in right now, let's go to a system where people actually can thrive and do things that will free them up. Think about this. We've got to move to this anyway, because within 15 years, Michael, 75% of the jobs in America that you see today will be gone. They will be done by robots and AI. That's not the government stepping in to do that. That is the private sector looking at ways that they're going to make more of a profit right now. And if you think that I'm just making this up, I'm not. You can Google right now in the state of Texas, there are McDonald's stores, restaurants that are 100% robotic. That will become the norm. I promise you that will within 15 years. There's not going to be anybody working these jobs. So we have to go to a universal basic income. Now, if you are still fortunate enough to have a job, great and good, but you're going to have your UBI on top of that just to begin with. Okay.
Right.
And it's going to free people up to really do what they want to do anyway. There's a lot of people out here that are working jobs just to pay bills and to exist. If we go to this new system, now people are going to be free to actually pursue what they want to pursue, whether it's arts or whether it's inventions or science or technology. People will have the freedom to actually do that.
And that was actually, it's funny that it's actually my first question following the process of building creative society was in fact the basic income of 10,000, and how would this come about. So that's, I like, I appreciate the question and the answer and to that question. And leading to that is the next one is, in what way, I know I'm a big TikTok follower of yours, I'm just gonna be honest with you, so I watch all of your videos. uh, but in what way, talking about the 650 square feet living space, in what way can the Americans get that 650 square feet? Is that per person? And if so, is there a process or form that they must fill out to get that 650 feet square foot added to their housing addition as of right now?
It is per person. And a lot of people get that confused. They think, well, that's going to be awfully small for my family of four. No, if you have a family of four, it's 650 square feet per person. So that would literally be a 2,600 square foot home. That's a big home for four people.
Yeah.
Now, what does that tell you? That tells you it's promoting the old family tradition of living together. You want a bigger home? Have a family.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You want to be a knucklehead and not, you're not going to live as well.
Right.
In this society, we definitely promote the family values, and it's definitely going to be shown here. Now, if a mom has three kids, same thing. You're looking at a 2,600 square foot home. What about somebody that's got an even larger family? Would be a bigger home.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
It'd be a much bigger home. Now, a lot of people have said, well, does that mean I have to give up the property that I've got now? No, of course not. If you've got a home and you like your home, keep your home. But under this new system, the Great Reset is what I call it.
Right.
Okay. All debts, all loans, all mortgages will be canceled. All taxes on small and medium-sized businesses and individuals also will be done away with. Complete debt amnesty under this program.
Now, I'll be honest with you. I got student loan debts up the wazoo.
Oh yeah,
so
me
that's
too.
obviously
Still have them.
Yep, exactly. 40,000 for me. But that's the biggest one you hear, I think, out of the news, out of literally all the loans is the student loan, and well, they should have been paid off, and this, that, and something else. So in this aspect, how would that work? I'm actually curious. I'm actually curious. It's something when there's something new for me, I get curious. So I'm like, oh, that's really cool. Here's what
Well,
So how would that work in that aspect?
Well, listen. I've actually got a couple of ways that we're going to attack education. Well, when I say attack education, the problems with education.
Right.
See, right now we've got 1.5 trillion in student loan debt. Okay, in the United States. Now, we are the only Western industrialized nation that does not have free college tuition all the way to a bachelor's degree. The only one. This is going to change under my leadership. Now, it takes roughly $60 billion annually to educate our young people in the state universities and colleges across the United States. 60 billion. Yet, okay. Now, I don't do drugs and I don't smoke marijuana or anything like that. But we still today, our government wastes over $30 billion in marijuana prohibition.
Whoa.
As president, here's what I'm going to do. I am going to sign an executive order very similar to what President Obama did with Colorado back in 2014. Okay, they passed the law saying that it was legal there in Colorado. I'm going to say basically, look, we're gonna legalize it or decriminalize it across the entire country. We'll save that $30 billion in taxpayer money. Then go to Congress and get it fully fully legalized. By doing that, then you can regulate and tax the industry across the entire country, create another $30 billion. So that's 30 billion plus 30 billion, that's $60 billion. We take that 60 billion and we make college education free.
I see what you're going with that. I see exactly where you went with that.
Now let's talk a little bit about the student loan debt, which is at 1.5 trillion.
Right.
Yet, here's that magic number. We give away still right at 60 billion a year. Actually, it's more than that now because of the Ukraine war. But we're giving away over 60 billion a year in foreign aid. Now, I love all of our allies, just like the rest of us do. Okay, but we've got to start taking care of our own backyard first, or we won't have a backyard. So,
amen.
Under my leadership, okay, I'm going to push for legislation that will cut foreign aid in half. We still need to have some there. We don't want to cut our nose off to spite our face, per se.
Right.
But if we cut it in half and just take that 30 billion, that half of it, and apply it to the student loan debt every single year, okay, like we're paying back a loan. Now the government has taken responsibility for the student loans. The American people as individuals are off the hook. It doesn't matter if it takes 20 years, 200 years to pay it back. The government can pay it back, but we as a people will be off the hook.
Wow. Okay,
now I want to talk to you a little bit more about education. Now, the reason I talk so much about education is because I am a former educator and college football coach. So education is very, very dear to my heart.
Yes.
Okay. And because of some scholarships that I did receive, I was able to get a master's degree and then go on beyond that as well. Okay. But my undergrad, just like most everybody that wants to get a degree, I had to take out student loans too. Okay, so we do have a major problem in this country right now with gun violence in schools.
Yes, sir.
I've got a plan that will eliminate the gun violence in every school across this country, and here's how we're going to do it. You'll really appreciate this, I think, Michael, simply because of your family background. You talked about all the veterans in your family. My plan is called Vets for Kids. We are going to protect every child in every school across this country by employing our veterans as guardians for our children and placing them in every school. No longer are kids going to have to look over their shoulder in fear of bullets flying while they're taking a test under my leadership. This is going to happen, and I'm going to make sure, because you see, we've had too much gun violence, and we've had too many thoughts and prayers after a school shooting. But then the one side that's big on the Second Amendment, which I am too, but that side will say, well, it's too early to debate. But when we finally do debate, they forget the fact that people lost their lives, that there are moms and dads out there that have to bury their children. For them, there's no more debate. There is no more debate when the unthinkable happens. So under my leadership, we're going to do something completely different. We're going to go ahead and start putting these veterans back to work, employing almost 500,000 veterans nationwide. Now, if I'm talking about employing 500,000 veterans, and I'm talking about eliminating gun violence in schools, which will still protect everybody's Second Amendment right, now we're coming up with major solutions.
Well, and that was a topic that not many people, well, I shouldn't say many because, you haven't got a chance, but like you said, I know right after the Uvalde school shooting took place, I can't remember when, we have so many of them, we lose track, unfortunately. It's sad to say, but it's true. And I did just a real quick, kind of like a 30, not 30 minutes, like a 3 or 4 minute segment on it, just for me personally. And as one of them, as, someone that has kids, you would think that after a while you would get, like you mentioned, and I'm totally on the same board, is you get tired of my thoughts, my condolences, my prayers, whatever,
right?
And it gets tiring because, and me, and I'm sure there's thousands, hopefully millions, if not. Like, what's the answer? Like, what is the answer to gun violence? What is, especially in schools, because you see time and time again. I mean, yeah, I'm 35 years old, but high school senior year was 17 years ago, and elementary was 20, 23 years ago.
Right.
I just never feared that. I mean, we were playing Pokemon and Digimon and Dragon Ball Z. We were more worried about whose Pokemon card was going to beat whose, instead of, you know, am I going to see my parents? Am I going to see my baby sister when I get home from school? And, you know, friends dying in this, you know, in their classes. And it's something that's a serious matter. And I wish, you know, somebody has an answer to it, because
Well,
it definitely
think
needs to
about
get
this, the
resolved.
unthinkable. I mean, if you start thinking about the simple fact that we have to worry every day now about our
Yep.
kids coming home safe from school, um, and then, you know, I love all people, I really do, but in our public schools, we've got to stop um, pushing agendas on children and just get back to teaching the curriculum.
Amen. Absolutely.
So, you know, I'm not big about pushing any agenda on anyone. Let the kids be kids.
Yep.
Okay. Let's not push any transgender stuff on them. Let's don't push any religion on kids either. Okay. Let's just let the kids be kids and figure out who they are. That's what school is supposed to be about anyway,
Hmm.
where they actually figure out for themselves who they are.
Yep.
We don't need somebody in there with some sort of crazy agenda trying to uh, indoctrinate children of all
Yep.
things.
Exactly.
Right. So that's where I am on that. Now, and again, I may make a few people mad with me, but you know what? I got the vast majority that's on my side. So come
Hmm.
on and bring it if you want to.
I love this. Uh, keep on going. Let's see here. Oh, the electoral platform. I know, you know, the last
Yeah.
election, there's a lot of issues. I mean, you can go back to even 2000. I wish people realize, you know, there was, you know, going back to 2000 as well, not just 2020. Um, Regardless if there was issues, not issues with the electoral ballots, so on and so forth. When it comes to creative society, I know you pitched, you know, I know you mentioned it, and I'll be honest with you, I
Yeah.
totally, you know, case what's the best way when it comes to the electoral platform? You mentioned that quite a bit. Could you describe, go into more details about that and how this is actually going to work?
Sure. And this really, if you think about the electoral platform, it puts to bed the debate. Are you there?
Yep, I'm good.
Okay. Somebody tried to call me real quick, but the electoral platform actually puts to rest the debate that people are having over having to have voter ID.
Right.
Okay, and here's why: as technology continues to progress, okay, and we can all agree that technology today is way ahead what it was just 10 years ago, 15
Oh
years ago.
yes.
It was 1992 when the internet first came out. Think about where we are now compared to where the internet used to be.
Yep.
So, with the technology that we have right now, with the electoral platform that we're talking about having, nobody's identity is going to be in question. Okay. But we're talking about giving everybody in this country a voice. Now, think about this. I've heard this over and over and over again, Michael. How many times have you heard people say, well, I don't vote because I don't have a voice?
Many times. Yep.
Many times. Same here. Electoral platform will actually give you that voice, and it will give it to you in real time. I'm going to tell you this right now. As far as election day and the actual ballots and voting, think about where we used to be, where you'd actually write it on a piece of paper, fold it up, put
Hmm.
it into a box. Then it went to the little punch cards where you'd actually fill in the little
Yep.
dots. In fact,
Yep.
when George Bush and Al Gore had the real close election down
Hmm.
in Florida, it was still the little punch where
Sure
they
was.
actually, yeah,
Yep.
it was.
Wow, I
So
forgot
think
all
about
about
how
that.
far we have
Yep.
come since then. Okay.
Wow.
So the electoral platform, in my humble opinion, is just a new way of doing it. And I believe that what you're going to see with this electoral platform, that throughout each year, a lot more people are going to be engaged in what's actually going on in their communities, in their state, in federal elections on election day. And a lot more people are going to vote because they're going to be able to do it right there from their phone. Okay. Everybody has has a smartphone for the most part. And for a
Right.
few of those that don't, then things are going to be made available that they can actually do that, such as the aged and the elderly. Like my mom's 89, okay, but she's not big on all this technology. She still just has a flip phone.
I didn't know they still made had those around. That is awesome. Real quick, going back to the veterans, real quick, question that came in: will the veterans still get all? Come on now, don't call me. Will the veterans still get all their benefits still if they take jobs protecting schools?
Absolutely, they will.
Very
Okay,
nice.
and it's going to be tax-free money to do it.
Even better. I like that. There you go.
Very good question. I don't know who that was, but thank you for asking that.
She's a smart lady. I will tell you. I will tell you that. um, no, that is my very own wife that asked that question.
Okay.
Um, where we at here? Oh, um, electoral platform. So, would there be like a app or so to where, like, say for example, everything's on? I think I swear, I think there's an app for everything. You can app for a car wash. You can do a
Yes.
McDonald's order. I mean, there's an app for literally everything. Will there be an app on on this one, or how will we get access to the electoral ballot?
Absolutely. It'll be just like an app, and you actually go through several security measures to make sure that it's actually you. Think about it right now. If you've got an iPhone,
Mm-hmm.
okay, a smartphone, a lot of the ways that they see who you are is by looking at your face. It's face recognition now.
True. Yep.
Okay.
Face ID.
So they'll be able to do that. They'll be able to do the same thing with your retinas. They already have this. When you go through an airport security right now, they know who you are before you even hand them your passport or your license, because they've already looked at your retinas. If you've had your retina scanned once, then they've got it from then on. I don't know
So
if you
I
knew
did
that.
not know. I did not know that. So that explains when I came back from Israel, when I had to go through um, Homeland Security, while they I stood in this one thing and immediately zapped and was like, "Okay, you're clear." Well, because I didn't give him any form or nothing.
They
I
already knew. They already knew.
Wow,
Yeah.
man, right there in
And you
itself
know
learning
what? Believe
something.
it or not, now they're getting it where they can actually determine who you are from your earlobes. Everybody's earlobes are different. Yes, everybody's
Right,
fingerprints are different too. We know
right,
that.
right.
But everybody's earlobes are different.
Man, not only am I learning a lot of stuff, but now I'm really, man, technology. You're you're starting to scare me here. Uh, but no, that
I'm
is awesome.
just I'm just telling you what's out there.
Well, hey, you would know more than I would, Mr. Wells. Even though I swear these kids, I think they learn a whole lot quicker than I did when technology was up and running, because they are quick to they're quick to know these tablets. Um, Another thing that was mentioned, that you mentioned in the past, and I like to really touch on this one, is that what we call the transition period. What does that exactly look like headed into the creative society? I mean, obviously, like you said, it will take some time to. I'm sure it will take some time from where we're at now to getting it to where it needs to be. How long would this transition take place, and would you expect it, and how smooth would it be during this transition?
Well, the transition period can go very quick, especially if the American people elect me, because it sends a mandate to Washington that this is the direction that the people want to go.
Okay.
You see, I'm not a Washington insider. I'm a Washington outsider.
Yep.
So someone like myself becoming president definitely sends a mandate all throughout Washington that they're going to get on board, and they're going to get on board real quick, so that the transitional period will not take nearly as long as what people think that it probably would take.
Fair enough. I know that's a lot of. I know, scrolling through the comments. I always have my own questions anyway. Just like I'm going to kind of think about everything. But I know, of course, that seemed to be the biggest one. Is, well, how smooth will this go, and how long will this be? Is this even going to happen? So on and so forth. There is one question I don't know if anybody's asked you that I'm curious about.
Sure.
because it looks cool, but I'm trying to figure out what in the world am I looking at as well, because I'm horrible with drawing things. So whoever drew it did a whole lot better. What exactly does the Creative Society logo mean? And in the middle, what exact is that, an 8, or what exactly is that? Because I love logos, so I'm trying to figure out what all is what in that logo.
So yeah, you do have the figure 8 in there that stands for the 8 pillars of the Creative Society.
Gotcha.
And if you go to creativesociety.com, you can actually see those pillars. You can go on my website, riseupwithrobby.com as well, to learn more about it. But yeah, and basically the Creative Society, what's so cool about it is they put human life at the very top of their priority. Okay. Instead of putting money at the top of the priority, like a lot of things that you see now in the current system that we have in the Creative Society, it really does put people first. Okay, so the circle that goes around is it's just a continuous circle, because life is just that, it's continuous. But
Right.
yeah, you can go on creativesociety.com and see the 8 pillars that are there.
Very nice, because I was always wondering, because I was looking through it earlier. I'm like, it's it's pretty fascinating logo. I don't know, I'm like, wow, I'm just trying to figure out exactly, is that a number?
And you know what, Michael? I'll say this too about the 8 pillars that are there for the Creative Society. If you look at the U.S. Constitution, it falls right in line with the U.S. Constitution. The problem is that our current lawmakers and lawmakers in the past really haven't followed that to the letter of the law. The Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence. Okay, these are the documents that our founding fathers gave us. If we would actually follow that, then you'd be following also the 8 pillars of the Creative Society.
Did not know that. Interesting. Speaking of the logo, I know social media, especially TikTok, is very interesting, especially if you like to read comments. So there was a video that you did. I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at you. I'm just linking the trolls that's out there. There was one video by chance of the logo, and it mentioned, I believe, a hat or a flag or a T-shirt, something like that. To degree, I can't exactly remember what it was. So let's say, for example, in the Creative Society, how do I word this? Not really mandatory. I hate mandatory things. Is it something to be required for us to wear when it comes to that logo? And if so, what would happen if we came across somebody that, say, that was not wearing that logo, or if they didn't have a flag out in their house or whatever? I don't know. Whatever else is out there.
No, it's not mandatory at all. What we're basically trying to do, okay, is act a little cocky there in that video. Okay,
I kind of figured, but it's like, I'm just gonna ask him.
That's the old football coach in me. Okay,
very nice.
Hey, look here, if you want to be on a winning team, wear this hat. It's that type thing.
I kind of thought that's what it was, but I mean, I'm like, I'm gonna ask him, because I, being a former player myself, I'm like, he has that coach background. I still see that in these videos, but I'm like, I don't know. And of course, nowadays, everybody literally believes anything you post online or in a video. So I'm like, guys, calm down here. So no, I just
and I had a lot of fun doing some of those videos, and I'll tell you, the more controversial you are with some of those, the more views you get. Like, if you look at some of the views on TikTok, some of those videos are in the millions of views. I think the top one is like at 2.8 million views or something like that. There's several that are over 2 million. There's several that are over 1 million. There's several that are real close to 1 million, and then some that are way over 500,000 people viewing them. That means that people are definitely listening to what we have to say.
No, and it's true because, it's true because, like I mentioned, in the beginning of the show, was you came across my TikTok. I don't know what you call it, for you or whatever it's called. Never followed you, never even watched a video prior to. So I'm like, cool. And I'm a guy, I literally watch, well, for the most part, we'll watch anything.
Sure.
So I'm like, hey, this guy's interesting. Hey, this guy's running for president. I like his, I'm kind of like his ideas, but it's still early. Let's, I want to learn more about him. So no, I was like you said, somebody that I follow or that I'm friends with on TikTok apparently is looking at your stuff and it's popping into my feed, which I'm all for. I like to give people chances and
Sure.
ideas, and I think one thing about you, Mr. Wells, and I'm not saying this because you're on the show. I told one of my colleagues a few months back is what I like about you is you have ideas and ways to fix things. We haven't seen that ever. It comes to a candidacy in the United States for
Yeah.
the most part, that hasn't really upheld their end of the bargain or their promises or whatever case you want to call it. So no, I applaud just for. I mean, that in itself that speaks volumes.
Well, you see a lot of candidates that come out and they'll whine and they'll complain about the problems, but they really don't have any solutions. Now we've got solutions for every one of the major problems that we've got. We just need the opportunity to go in and do things a little bit different than what's been done in Washington. Same way with immigration. My plan, Service for Freedom, uh, unlike Mr. Trump thought that he could solve the problem by building a wall. The problem with building a wall is you can climb it. And Mr. Trump should know that you can climb a wall because a lot of his people did climb the wall on January 6th when they ransacked the Capitol. So building a wall, I don't believe that you win with things. I believe that you win with people.
Mm-hmm.
So here's what we're going to do. We are going to quadruple our border patrol on the southern border with Mexico. Now, here's how we're going to do it. Half of it is going to come from the United States. The other half is going to come from Mexico. Here's what we have right now. Currently, we have 20,000 Border Patrol agents, okay, on the southern border.
Right.
I don't know if you knew that, but we do.
Right.
Okay. You win with people, not with things. Okay. So I want to double that. And here's how I want to do it. I want to dissolve. That's a good word to use.
I like
Dissolve
that.
the group called ICE.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, ICE is unconstitutional. They can go in, they can pluck somebody out of their home and they can hold them indefinitely. They can send them back without even due process. They can do that. Here's what I want to do. I want to completely dissolve ICE because they are the modern KGB. Now, once we do that, that's 20,000 positions that ICE has right now, 20,000 ICE agents. Now we've got 20,000 positions that we can uh, use to double our border patrol. Now, at that point, I will go to the Mexican president and I'll say, now listen, we've got a major problem um, with the cartels. And you're going to match our number of border patrol agents, or else we're going to come in and we're going to clean it up ourselves.
Right.
The Mexican president will not want that to happen because he's not going to want American troops on his soil. So
True.
they will match us or else. Now, once that's matched and once we have a completely secure border, my plan, Service for Freedom, goes into play. Here's how it works. Okay. Anyone that wants to come from Central or South America into the United States and be a part of our
Mm-hmm.
country and be a citizen, we're going to allow them to come in and serve in local, state, federal government positions, even in the military for a number of 4 years. They will be serving this country. They will be earning a wage that is taxable. They will be
Okay.
learning the English language. They will be learning about the history of our nation and what our founding fathers went through. And at the end of that 4 year period, they will have earned their citizenship. It's called Service for Freedom. But it's truly going to give
Mm.
people the opportunity to come to America in the right way. Because the reason we've got so many that have come in the wrong way is because financially they couldn't afford to gain their citizenship. It costs
Right.
a lot of money.
Yes, it does. Yep.
So here's a way that we can do that. We can alleviate that problem. We can make sure that America gets stronger. And in the process, we can still be the beacon light of freedom for everybody in the world.
That idea I've never thought of. Huh. I like that. That one I
It's,
really, really like.
listen, Michael, it's all about solutions. And that's what we are. And for everybody that's listening, you can go to Rise Up with Robby and spell Robby with a Y. RiseUpwithRobby.com to learn about all the solutions that we have for the major issues that are going on, not only in the United States, but around the world. We can truly return this country to what it was supposed to be by our founding fathers. And let me say this, Michael, you know, my opponent has said, make America great again. Okay, which insinuates we've been great before. Now, we've done some great things and it's been great for some people, but has it been great for everyone at one time? Was it great for the Native Americans that were forced on the Trail of Tears, where millions were slaughtered at the hands of the white man? Was it ever great for the Africans that were sold into slavery here and that were in slavery for hundreds of years? Has it ever really been great for African Americans through the Jim Crow era? Even today, Black men are afraid to walk down the street in major cities in fear of retribution from police officers. So I truly believe that America will achieve true greatness for the first time once the lines of separation that have divided our people are completely erased.
That's excellent, because I was leading. Really, I'm glad you brought that up, because I was actually leading to the next question. Is we see so much racial division in this country, especially
Right.
the last, was this 23? Let's say 7 years if you want to go far back, but doesn't really matter. It's actually, you don't have to go the last 7 years. I mean, it's been an ongoing issue regardless your race. But what's the issue? And if that's it, obviously feel free to obviously say. But what's the issue and how to fix this racial division that we're seeing, because it's obviously getting worse and not better, and hopefully maybe there's red light, hopefully there's light at the end of the tunnel, but who can say?
Well, we've had a lot of lawmakers out here in the past when it comes to race. They'll talk a good talk, they just won't walk a good walk. Okay, you truly need leadership that's going to walk that walk and let their lifestyle be the example for the entire country. I truly believe that my life does just that. Okay, and I'm going to leave it there. And for all your listeners, you can go do your own research on my life, my personal life, and you will see exactly what I'm talking about when I'm talking about bringing people together. Okay, you see, whether you're black or white, young or old, male or female, a member of the LGBTQ community, whatever your religion may be, whether you're Democrat, Republican, or independent like myself, we're all very unique in this country, Michael. We can celebrate our differences because we've got one common bond. And that is, we are all Americans. And it's time for us to lay aside our differences and begin working together hand in hand and side by side on these issues that we have in this country. It's time for us to stare down the fear of our differences with the face of courage.
No, I like that. And it's something that needs to be addressed, which leads into going globally again. How will we, the question just came in, how will we, the United States, fit in with the other creative societies around the world?
Well, the Creative Society has specific goals that we want to see for humankind. Okay. And it doesn't matter if you are in Austria, or if you're in China, or if you're in the United States, or if you're in South America, Colombia, South America, or if you're in Brazil, or in Europe, any of the countries in Europe, or if you're in Russia or Ukraine, the Creative Society is the Creative Society. And it's time for us to realize around the world, we've got more in common than we do in differences. And it's time for us to start tapping into the commonalities amongst all of us instead of the differences. You know, the media for so many years has done everything with propaganda to make Americans feel like Russia's the enemy and all Russians are evil and they're dumb. And the Russian media does the same thing with Americans, trying to make us seem like that we're dumb and that we're evil, when in fact we're all really good people. Okay. Now, yes, there are some that need to be dealt with, and we will do that. But for the most part, there are some really good people that I have met as I've traveled the world and spoken in many different countries. I've spoken in China, I've spoken in France, Italy, I've spoken in India numerous times, spoken all over the United States. There are some really, really good people everywhere. All you got to do is look.
No, that's so true, because the media, and it's a prime example over in Israel. We were talking to one of the tour guides, and he practically said, it's pretty much, if you're going to report something, let it be true. Don't let it report from something that you're 10,000 miles, 5,000. That's United States is less, obviously more than 5,000 miles away from the Israel. But the point of the matter is let the truth be the truth, not make us who are not.
Right.
And you mentioned obviously that you've spoken in numerous of international countries and even within the United States, Miami and East LA and New York, and astounding numbers. I mean, obviously, I picked this up from a few months back. I'm sure it's growing in other areas as well, and more added to it. 25,000 Miami, 20,000 in East LA, 10,000 plus in New York, 30,000 plus in China, 40,000 plus in Atlanta, and 20,000 plus in India. And that's just to name a few. That doesn't go more and more beyond.
All I can
First
say
off,
is
that's
this. All I can
amazing.
say is this, Michael. When I started my political career, people thought I was nuts. They thought I was crazy to step away from being a Division I head football coach. And I knew that I was in what, because I'm very strong in my faith. I was in God's will, number one, and I knew I had a great plan. So I used the same mentality that we used coaching all those years. No matter how bad it looked, we
Right.
just didn't quit. And I knew that if I just keep on pushing towards my goals, my dreams, and making my dreams not only a goal but making them a reality, that we would see major success. Now we've seen it. I am getting a chance to speak in front of all these crowds now, and we've got millions of viewers. Who would have ever thought that a little country kid from southeast Georgia, that grew up in southeast Georgia, would be able to have a chance to bring the entire country, really the entire world together? But that's exactly what's happening right now. And it's because a lot of people have jumped on board with the Rise Up movement. And it's not about Robbie, it's about us as a people. Okay. And if we can always make sure that we keep the priority on the people, then we're going to be able to go all the way to 1600 Pennsylvania. I truly believe that.
I'm a firm believer that anybody, and it's something I grew up with, and it's something I still stick, tell whoever wants to listen to, and my own kids for their own thing. And my youngest son wants to be a Pixar worker. I'm like, dude, go for it. I mean, just because your dad can't draw and can't sing and can't do this, man, by all means, go for it. Where was I going with this? Oh, but that speaks volume. Obviously they're getting the message, like you said earlier in the show, is they're getting the message out now. You're getting more focus on it. The media. I know NBC, I believe, um, broadcasted a speech a while back, and
They did.
obviously the media is starting to get name recognition, which leads to, we got Vladimir Putin and Xing from China. When you have their first meeting with them as president of the United States, what would that meeting be like? I mean, I know it's hard to kind of grasp, probably answer it, but what would that first interaction be with them?
Well, I'm going to be very respectful for anyone that is a leader of a nation.
Absolutely,
Okay,
right.
but I will let them know that I believe that conflicts can be resolved diplomatically whenever there is a conflict, and all steps should be taken diplomatically. And that's where I think that Russia dropped the ball with the Ukraine. They never really used any sort of diplomacy to see if they could keep from actually going to war. But I'm going to tell them straight up that's what I will be pushing for. And I will also let them know, yes, I am a nice guy, but do not mistake niceness for weakness.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like this. I like this attitude right here. Um, which leads to, and then we kind of talked about it. No, we mentioned about prosperity and safety earlier,
Yes.
which goes into the, how would I word this right? Like the Americans, when it comes to kind of have my train of thought. We'll move on. Hopefully, will come back to me. When it
Okay.
comes, I got a huge listening in Israel. I'll move on there. Hopefully, it comes back. Got a quite an interesting tr- um, audience in Israel, which I find very interesting. And it's
Sure.
cool at the same time. When it comes to when you become president of the United States, are you still going to keep that great relationship with America and Israel as allies and make sure that they're taken care of, so to speak?
Absolutely, I will. And just to let you know a little bit about my faith, I am a born again Christian.
Very nice.
Now, under the First Amendment here in the United States, everybody has the right to worship as they see fit or not at all. You also have the right to, in that First Amendment, to speak lawfully, of course, with whatever you want to say. Now, you can't go make threats on someone,
Right.
but I am a born again Christian, and because of that, I do support Israel, and I want to keep Israel very close to us because Israel is very close in my heart.
Got a troll here. Had to dismember that real quick.
Okay.
Sure. So anyway, yeah, all the listeners out there, any comments that you make, anything derogatory will not be, as I said, and we will continue to respect Mr. Wells and his time on here on the show as we wrap up the show. Speaking of speaking of derogatory and name calling, there was one video that caught my attention. I'm sure you get all kinds of heckles out there. It was
Sure.
quite interesting. I didn't think much of it simply because I just didn't think much of it. There was one video, I believe you might have addressed it yourself, but maybe I'm sure you got quite a bit of people calling you. What was up with the Antichrist name calling towards you? Did I miss something? I was kind of curious. Like I said, I know social media is name calling, so
listen, it's crazy. I mean, I was appreciating all the views and all the comments, but there were some people that were saying that. I noticed that mainly the ones that were saying that were major Trump supporters. And I don't know if it's because they were feeling threatened because we were getting so many views. So that's what they were saying. But if you do any sort of research on me, that's not who I am. Number one, if you've done any sort of biblical research, you know that the Antichrist comes out of the Middle East.
Right.
Okay. I've never even visited the Middle East, never been there. No, number two,
right.
I was raised in church. My father was a Southern Baptist minister. I was adopted as a 6-week-old infant. But if they're looking for that guy, I'm not it.
No, I just I thought like I said, people on social media, I get them all the time. I'm sure you do as well. No, it was interesting. I was like, well, maybe I missed a episode, a video or something.
Michael, let me say this: when Barack Obama was president, there were people that said that he was. When Donald Trump was president, there were people that said that he was. When Joe Biden became president, I don't know if you really heard that much. I think people are just praying that he stays awake.
Yeah,
I really do. But because if you think about it, Joe Biden is going to be 82 on Inauguration Day, and Donald Trump would be 80. I feel sorry for both of those guys because neither one of them, Michael, celebrated Christmas as children. Did you know that?
Really?
Yeah, Jesus wasn't born yet.
God dang it. I love that. I'm gonna use that as a clip. That is freaking hilarious. That is hilarious. As we wrap up, I want to end on that one. We like that. As we wrap up the show, Robbie, first of all, it's an honor. I know it's a short hour, but I'm sure there's a whole lot more I could get to know and hear about the campaign. But finish up the time, give the listeners. I don't want to be like NBC and ABC. Give the listeners a minute speech to the voters out there. But if you want to go for it, go for it. But give the listeners out there some other reasons and what we look at as the creative society could invade America.
Well, for everyone out there listening to us this evening, I want to thank you for taking this hour to get to know me a little bit as one of the candidates, and hopefully the next president, good Lord willing, and if each and every one see it my way, the next president, the 47th president of the United States. We do have a great plan. The plan does put people first. The plan puts corporations in the background. And that's the problem that you've had right now over the past several decades is that people have not been put first. It's time that we come together and we start laying aside those differences and begin working together as one cohesive unit with a singleness of purpose to once and for all become the greatest nation on the face of this planet, the beacon light of freedom, the United States of America. God bless each and every one of you. God bless the military that's serving and protecting us around the world right now. God bless these United States.
There you have it, folks. That's the way we're going to wrap it up. You've been listening to the Air Attack Podcast. Mr. Wells, it was an honor to have you on, and we'll have to catch up again here soon. You listen to us in all major podcast platforms and even now officially Pandora. Listen to us on Pandora. Have a great week, guys. We will see you all same time, same place next week. Take care and God bless.
God bless.
And we got an E.